The alien screamed, and every translator in the Grand Halo Hotel failed at once. Guests froze mid-step. Conversations died. Lights flickered as if the building itself was holding its breath. The creature at the center of the lobby was tall, wrapped in shifting plates of crystal skin, its eyes burning like blue fire trapped in glass. Security drones hovered, unsure. Staff stared in panic. No one could understand a single sound it made. No one, except one human who had just walked through the door. The Grand Halo Hotel floated above the city of Virex Station, a crossroads of the galaxy. Diplomats, traders, mercenaries, and tourists passed through its doors every hour. It was famous for two things: luxury and its universal translation grid, a system so advanced it could decode languages that had never been formally recorded. That system was now blinking red. Hotel manager Sarin, a six-limbed Kethri with silver eyes, felt something close to fear. "Run diagnostics again," she snapped to the staff. "We already did," replied a trembling clerk. "The visitor's language doesn't match any known structure. It isn't verbal. It isn't chemical. It isn't psychic." Another scream echoed through the lobby. Not angry. Not violent. Desperate. Security officers raised stun weapons, but hesitated. The alien hadn't attacked anyone. It had only repeated the same sound again and again, each time louder, more broken. Guests backed away. Rumors spread instantly. Terrorist. Biological hazard. Scout for invasion. Sarin knew how these stories ended. When fear took control, diplomacy died. And then the doors opened. Jonah Reed, age 19, stepped inside dragging a battered travel bag. He was human, thin, dark-haired, wearing a cheap jacket that had seen better decades. He squinted at the chaos in front of him. Jonah muttered. "Did I miss something?" No one answered. Jonah wasn't important. Not officially. He wasn't a diplomat or soldier. He was a junior maintenance apprentice, sent from Earth on a training exchange because humans had a reputation for fixing things that shouldn't work. He had grown up in shipyards. Broken engines. Corrupt systems. Old machines that only worked because someone believed they still could. He listened. While everyone else stared at the alien's shape, Jonah listened to the sound. The scream wasn't random. It had rhythm. Jonah's eyes narrowed. "That's not screaming," he said softly. "That's pattern." A nearby clerk turned. "Human, stay back." But Jonah was already moving forward. The alien saw him approach and recoiled, crystal plates shifting sharply. Its scream changed pitch. Jonah raised both hands slowly. Hey! I'm not security. I don't even work here." Security drones drifted closer, targeting reticles warming. Jonah ignored them. The sound hit him again. Vibrations through air and floor. Not words, but structured pulses. He felt it in his chest. Jonah swallowed. "It's layered," he whispered. "Like harmonics." No one understood what he meant. Jonah reached into his bag and pulled out a battered manual resonance tuner, a tool used by humans to diagnose failing hulls and reactors. Primitive by galactic standards. He adjusted the dial and held it toward the alien. The device hummed. The alien froze. The scream stopped. A wave of silence rolled across the lobby. The tuner vibrated violently, lights flaring. Jonah stared in disbelief. "You're not speaking," he said slowly. "You're broadcasting. Your body is the translator." The alien tilted its head. Jonah adjusted the frequency again, sweat forming on his brow. The tuner emitted a new tone, clear, stable. Then a voice filled the lobby. Not through speakers. Through the air itself. "Can you hear me now?" The lobby exploded into noise. "What?" It translated. "That's impossible." Sarin stumbled forward. "Human, what did you do?" Jonah didn't turn. "I listened." The alien's crystal skin dimmed slightly, its posture easing. "I am Keth Val," the voice continued, distorted but understandable. I have been lost for 3 cycles. Your systems could not hear me. Sarin's mandibles trembled. We tried every protocol. They were not built for pain, Kethval replied. Jonah flinched. You were broadcasting distress. Yes. And it overloaded the translators, Jonah said. They weren't designed for emotion-based resonance. Too much signal. Silence. That wasn't supposed to make sense. Yet it did. Jonah lowered the tuner. Your species doesn't speak in language. You speak in state. Feeling. Intensity. Kethval inclined its head. Your species listens, strangely. Jonah let out a shaky laugh. Yeah. We get that a lot. Medical teams rushed in, now cautious instead of aggressive. Security drones powered down. Guests whispered in awe. Sarin approached Jonah slowly. Human, how did you know? Jonah shrugged. I didn't. I guessed. When machines fail, humans stop trusting manuals. Kethval turned fully toward Jonah. Its voice softened. You heard me when others only feared me. Jonah met its glowing gaze. You weren't here to hurt anyone. You were just loud because you were scared. A long pause. Yes, Kethval said. The word carried weight. But across the lobby, unseen by most, a black observation lens adjusted its focus. Data streamed outward. Human anomaly confirmed. Compatibility with resonance entities. High. Recommendation. Immediate containment. In the shadows of Vyrek Station, powers far older than the hotel had been watching. And now they knew something dangerous. Humans didn't just translate the galaxy. They understood it. The moment the lobby calmed, the danger truly began. Jonah Reed didn't notice it at first. He was too busy sitting on the edge of a low bench, hands shaking slightly as medical staff scanned Kethval with cautious instruments. The alien's crystalline body pulsed gently now, its light steady instead of chaotic. You're stabilizing, Jonah said quietly. Yes, Kethval replied. Because I am no longer alone. Those words stayed with Jonah. Across the lobby, hotel manager Sarin was speaking urgently into a secure communicator, her voice tight. This incident must be reported immediately. A human manually interfaced with a resonance-based life form. No authorization. No training. Her superior's voice crackled back. Understood. Commonwealth oversight has already flagged the anomaly. Jonah didn't hear that part. He did hear the sudden thrum, a deep vibration that rippled through the station like distant thunder. Kethval's light flickered. They have felt me, the alien said. Jonah frowned. Who's they? Kethval hesitated. Those who fear silence. Within minutes, the hotel's atmosphere shifted again, but this time it wasn't panic. It was control. Security units far heavier than hotel grade arrived. Their armor bore the sigil of Commonwealth Strategic Compliance, an organization humans usually heard about only after disasters. Guests were ordered to remain where they were. Corridors sealed. Elevators locked. Sarin approached Jonah, her expression no longer frantic, but wary. You should step away from the visitor, she said. Jonah stood slowly. Why? Because you're now classified as a variable. Jonah blinked. A what? Before she could answer, the air shimmered and Director Harvek appeared in holographic form. Tall, angular, his species difficult to define, as if designed to unsettle. Human Jonah Reed, Harvek said calmly. You will comply with containment procedures. Jonah's jaw tightened. Containment of who? Harvek's eyes flicked briefly to Kethval. Then back to Jonah. Both of you. Kethval's light flared sharply. The hum returned, not loud, but deep enough to make bones ache. He does not belong to you, Kethval said. Harvek ignored the statement. Human, step away. Your species has no clearance for resonance class entities. Jonah didn't move. He wasn't attacking anyone, Jonah said. You all saw that. Intent is irrelevant, Harvek replied. Capability is not. Jonah felt anger rise, hot and sudden. So what? You lock him up because you don't understand him? Harvek's voice dropped slightly. No. We lock you out because you do. That sentence landed like a blow. Around them, weapons subtly re-aimed, not at Kethval. At Jonah. Jonah laughed once, short and disbelieving. You're scared of me. Humans are new, Harvek said. And unpredictable. Your species has an alarming tendency to adapt without permission. Jonah glanced at Kethval, then back at Harvek. He's in pain. You're treating that like a crime. Kethval's voice softened. Jonah Reed listens when others analyze. Silence followed. That was the problem. Sarin stepped between Jonah and the security line, her limbs spread in a gesture of negotiation. Director, this incident occurred on neutral hospitality grounds. The human acted instinctively, not maliciously. Harvek's gaze hardened. Instinct is precisely the issue. He raised one finger. Containment fields began to rise, transparent walls of force forming a dome around Kethval. Jonah felt the vibration change immediately. No, he said sharply. That's wrong. You're cutting off his resonance. That's like putting a muzzle on someone's lungs. Kethval's light dimmed. A fractured tone escaped him. Jonah didn't think. He stepped into the forming field. Energy crackled across his skin, burning cold. Human. Sarin shouted. Jonah gritted his teeth and raised the tuner again, adjusting it wildly. You're hurting him. Harvek's voice sharpened. Remove him. But the field faltered. Jonah slammed the tuner frequency lower, matching the alien's weakening pulse. The hum stabilized. The field flickered. Kethval's light surged back to life. Gasps echoed across the lobby. That's impossible, someone whispered. Harvek stared. How are you doing that? Jonah's voice shook, but he didn't back down. Because your system assumes communication is control. Ours doesn't. The containment field collapsed completely. For one terrifying second, everyone thought Kethval might explode. Instead, the alien did something no one expected. He stepped behind Jonah. A towering crystal being shielding a skinny human apprentice. I choose him, Kethval said. That was not a request. That was a declaration. Alarms blared again, this time station-wide. Harvek's image fractured slightly as emergency data streamed in. Director, an aide reported. Multiple resonance entities are responding. They're converging. Kethval's tone deepened. They heard me. They know I am no longer silent. Jonah's stomach dropped. You called for help. I called for witness, Kethval replied. The galaxy must learn that understanding exists. Harvek's face tightened. This station cannot host a resonance convergence. Evacuate the human. Now. Jonah looked up at Kethval. What happens if they come here? Kethval's light shimmered with something like sorrow. Then the galaxy will decide whether it fears connection or change. Security units advanced again, more aggressively this time. But something else happened. Guests didn't flee. They watched. They saw a human standing unarmed between power and pain. They saw an alien choosing trust. And in that moment, something ancient and fragile cracked. Far beyond Vyrek Station, deep in resonance space, others began to listen. And for the first time in centuries, the silence answered back. The station lights dimmed, not as a failure, but as a response. Jonah felt it before he understood it. A pressure in the air. A deep, slow rhythm beneath the metal floors of Vyrek Station, like a heartbeat that did not belong to the station at all. Kethval straightened. His crystal skin refracted light in complex patterns, no longer chaotic, but purposeful. They are close, he said. Jonah swallowed. How many is they? Enough, Kethval replied, to remind the galaxy why it chose silence. Director Harvek's hologram reappeared, sharper now, backed by layers of encrypted data. His calm was gone. All personnel, he ordered, This station is under provisional lockdown. No departures. No transmissions. A murmur of fear spread among the guests. Jonah turned to Sarin. You're not evacuating. Her silver eyes flicked toward the ceiling. There is nowhere safe if resonance entities fully awaken. Jonah frowned. You keep saying resonance entities like they're weapons. Harvek answered instead. Because they are. Kethval's glow darkened. We were never weapons. We were warnings. The lobby trembled as a low-frequency wave passed through it. Several guests collapsed, overwhelmed. Others felt nothing at all. Jonah staggered but stayed upright. Kethval noticed. You feel it differently. Jonah nodded slowly. It's like noise, but not painful. Like standing near a loud engine. Harvek's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Even trained operatives require shielding. Jonah snapped back. Maybe stop assuming humans break the same way you do. Silence followed. Then Kethval spoke again. Quieter now. Human Jonah Reed must know. If he stands with us, he must understand the cost. Jonah hesitated. Know what? Kethval looked at Harvek. Tell him. Or I will. Harvek didn't respond immediately. His hesitation said more than words. Finally, he spoke. Long before humanity left its cradle, Harvek said, the galaxy faced extinction, not from war, but from connection. The lobby lights shifted as a holographic projection filled the air. Stars, species, vast networks of sound and energy. Resonant species, Harvek continued, do not communicate with symbols or words. They share emotional and cognitive states directly. When left unchecked, their presence destabilizes neurological structures of non-compatible species. Jonah frowned. So you locked them away? We silenced them, Harvek corrected. For survival. Kethval's voice trembled, not with anger, but with pain. You erased us. Fragmented us. Declared us dangerous so you would not have to change. The projection shifted again. Images of ancient treaties, classified purges, entire star systems marked quarantined. Jonah felt sick. You committed genocide. No, Harvek said coldly. We committed prevention. Jonah clenched his fists. You didn't even try to understand them. Harvek's gaze snapped to him. We did. And we learned something terrifying. The projection zoomed in, two overlapping waveforms. One group of beings could withstand full resonance exposure, Harvek said. Not the strongest. Not the smartest. But the most adaptable. The waveform highlighted in blue. Human. Jonah's breath caught. That's not possible. It is, Harvek said. Your species evolved in chaotic sensory environments. Noise. Emotion. Unpredictability. You don't filter, you endure. Kethval stepped closer to Jonah. Humans do not silence what hurts them. They name it. Jonah shook his head. So what? You hid this because you were afraid humans would side with them? Yes, Harvek said without shame. Because if resonant species and humans ever aligned, the balance of power would collapse. Jonah looked around the lobby. At the frightened guests. At the armed security. At the aliens standing beside him. You didn't fear them, Jonah said quietly. You feared losing control. Another wave rolled through the station, stronger this time. Several security units shut down instantly. Kethval's light flared brilliantly. They are arriving. Harvek's voice sharpened. Human Jonah Reed, you are ordered to step away immediately. You are not equipped for what comes next. Jonah laughed softly. Neither are you. Sarin stared at him. Human, what are you doing? Jonah took a deep breath. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. I grew up fixing broken machines, he said. Everyone else would say, it's too damaged. Shut it down. Humans don't do that. He turned to Kethval. You said you called for witnesses. Yes. Jonah nodded. Then don't hide me. The ceiling above the lobby shimmered and opened. Not violently. Not destructively. Space folded like fabric, revealing shapes made of light, sound, and motion. Entities that did not fully exist in one dimension. Guests screamed. Jonah felt the pressure intensify, but he stayed standing. Kethval lowered himself slightly, in a gesture of respect. They have come, he said. And they see you. Jonah swallowed hard. Great. No pressure. A voice, not spoken, but felt, brushed against Jonah's mind. Human. You hear without breaking. Why? Jonah didn't know how he answered. He just did. Because we're used to living with noise, he said. Fear. Anger. Hope. We don't shut it out. We survive it together. A pause. Then warmth. Then you are not alone anymore. Harvek's hologram flickered violently. This is an unauthorized convergence. Shut it down. But no one moved. They were watching something ancient change. Jonah felt tears sting his eyes, not from pain, but from understanding. Kethval placed a crystalline hand near Jonah's shoulder, not touching, but close. The galaxy buried its fear, Kethval said. You unearthed it. Jonah looked up at the unfolding light above them. What happens now? Kethval's glow deepened. Now, he said, humanity chooses whether it will be silent or heard. The galaxy did not explode. That surprised everyone. The convergence above the Grand Halo Hotel did not tear the station apart, did not melt minds, did not shatter reality the way Commonwealth warnings had promised for centuries. Instead, it stabilized, layers of light and vibration settling into a vast, controlled presence. Order, not chaos. Jonah Reed stood at the center of it, heart pounding, breath shallow. Every instinct told him he should be on his knees, overwhelmed. Instead, he felt steady. Director Harvek stared in disbelief. This violates every projection. Kethval answered calmly. Your projections were built on fear. Across Virek Station, systems flickered back online, not overridden, but adjusted. Translation grids recalibrated themselves. Power flows smoothed. Even gravity fluctuations eased. Sarin whispered, the station is healthier. Harvek's voice hardened. This ends now. His hologram dissolved, replaced by something far more real. Armored dropships pierced the station's outer perimeter, docking with military precision. Commonwealth enforcement troops poured into the corridors, trained, disciplined, prepared for suppression. Jonah felt the shift immediately. They're coming for you, he said to Kethval. Kethval's glow dimmed slightly. They are coming for silence. Security forces flooded the lobby, weapons raised. Step away from the human, a commander shouted. No one moved. Guests, aliens of dozens of species, stood their ground. Some trembled. Some clutched each other. But they did not flee. They had felt the resonance. Not pain. Truth. Jonah raised his hand slowly. You don't need to do this. The commander barked a laugh. Human, you have no authority here. Jonah nodded. You're right. I don't. He turned, gesturing upward to the luminous presence filling the open sky. But they do now. A wave of resonance rolled outward, not violent, not forced. It passed through armor, shields, neural dampeners like mist through stone. Troops froze. Some dropped their weapons. Others staggered, overwhelmed, not by fear, but by emotion they had never processed before. Regret. Doubt. Grief. One soldier sank to his knees, whispering, I didn't know. I didn't know. Harvek's voice cut through emergency channels. This is a neurological attack. Fall back. But it wasn't. No commands were implanted. No minds were rewritten. The resonance did only one thing. It refused to be filtered. Jonah felt it too. Memories surfaced, his father's exhausted smile after double shifts, the fear of leaving Earth, the quiet belief that he was small in a very large universe. He didn't collapse. He breathed. Is this what you are? Jonah asked HFY quietly. Not conquerors. Not destroyers. HFY inclined his head. We are mirrors. That is why they feared us. Sarin stepped forward, her voice shaking but clear. Director Harvek. This station is under my authority. I formally invoke neutral sanctuary. Harvek snarled. You will lose everything. Perhaps, she said. But not ourselves. That moment mattered. Because others followed. A trader refused to move. A diplomat lowered their crest in respect. A mercenary powered down their armor. Choice spread faster than fear ever had. Harvek realized it then. Control was gone. His voice dropped, almost pleading. Human Jonah Reed, you do not understand what you're doing. If resonance spreads freely, civilizations will fracture. Jonah met the hologram's gaze. Or they'll finally talk honestly. That chaos will kill billions. Jonah shook his head. No. Silence already did. The luminous entities above shifted, forming patterns Jonah somehow understood without words. We do not seek dominion. We seek partnership. The human has shown us permission. Harvek whispered, you can't just change galactic law. Jonah answered softly, no. But we can outgrow it. A transmission broke through the lockdown. Earth. The human delegation, small, underestimated, usually ignored, had been watching. A calm voice spoke across every channel. This is Ambassador Lena Morales, United Earth Coalition. We are receiving resonance input clearly. We are not in distress. The pause that followed felt like history holding its breath. We recognize these beings, Morales continued. Not as threats, but as voices we were never allowed to hear. Jonah felt something break open inside his chest. Earth wasn't silent. Earth was listening. Harvek's image flickered, then dimmed. You are making yourselves targets, he said quietly. Jonah smiled faintly. Humans are used to that. The enforcement ships powered down, one by one. Not ordered. Chosen. As the resonance stabilized, the luminous beings began to withdraw, not gone, but present in a gentler way, woven into the station systems. HFY exhaled, a sound like wind through crystal. It is done, he said. The silence is broken. Jonah sagged slightly, exhaustion finally catching up. So, what happens to me? HFY regarded him with something like affection. You become what you already were, he said. A bridge. Across the galaxy, records updated themselves. Resonance species. Active. Human compatibility. Confirmed. Containment doctrine. Obsolete. Nothing would ever be simple again. But for the first time in centuries, it would be honest. The galaxy did not recover. It changed. In the days that followed the convergence at Vyrek Station, silence vanished from places that had not known it for centuries. Worlds long isolated began reporting strange but undeniable phenomena, systems stabilizing, conflicts pausing mid-escalation, ancient grief surfacing and being processed instead of buried. And at the center of it all stood humanity. Not as conquerors. Not as rulers. But as listeners. Jonah Reed woke in a quiet room overlooking the station's inner ring. His body ached in ways he couldn't explain, like he had run for days without stopping. Outside the window, ships drifted calmly, military, civilian, alien, side by side. For once, no one was shouting. A soft chime sounded. HFY entered, his crystalline form calmer than ever, light refracting gently instead of flaring. You survived, HFY said. Jonah smiled weakly. You make it sound like a miracle. It is, HFY replied. Not because you lived. Because you stayed. Jonah sat up slowly. They told me I could leave. Earth offered to bring me home. And you did not answer. Jonah looked down at his hands. I keep thinking, if I walk away now, the silence starts creeping back in. HFY inclined his head. That fear means you understand. Across the galaxy, reactions were divided. Some governments panicked. Some species resisted, trying to reinstate dampeners and neural filters. Others, millions of individuals, embraced resonance cautiously, discovering emotions they had been taught to suppress. Human envoys were suddenly everywhere. Not armed. Not commanding. Just present. Humans sat in rooms where others could not. They listened to pain without flinching. They translated feelings into words when words failed. It wasn't strength. It was endurance. Director Harvek was removed from office 3 days later. Not by force. By vote. The hearing was broadcast publicly. When asked why he had supported resonance suppression for so long, Harvek answered honestly for the first time. Because if we allowed ourselves to feel everything, he said, we would have had to change. The chamber was silent. Then a human delegate spoke. That's the point. Jonah walked the station freely now. People, aliens of every form, recognized him. Some bowed. Some thanked him. Some simply looked at him like he was something fragile and dangerous all at once. He hated that. I didn't save the galaxy, he told Sarin as they stood in the once chaotic lobby. I just didn't walk away. Sarin's silver eyes softened. That is rarer than heroism. Kethval led Jonah to the station's highest platform, where the stars seemed close enough to touch. The others wish to ask you something, Kethval said. Jonah swallowed. Ask away. The resonance presence formed, not overwhelming, but vast. Human Jonah Reed. Your species is compatible in a way no other is. You can stand in noise without dissolving. Will you help us rebuild what was silenced? Jonah felt the weight of it press down on him, not as command, but as trust. He thought of Earth. Of home. Of the quiet life he might have returned to. He also thought of the first scream in the hotel lobby. No one else could hear him, Jonah said softly. I don't want to live in a galaxy where that happens again. He looked up. I'll help. But not as your voice. As a bridge. Humans don't speak for others. We help them speak for themselves. The resonance shimmered, approval, relief, something like gratitude. Then we will walk beside you. Not above. Not below. The news spread fast. Humanity was no longer the new species. Humanity was the connecting species. Not perfect. Not pure. But willing to face what others avoided. Some called it dangerous. Humans called it honest. Months later, Jonah stood aboard a small exploration vessel, not a warship, not a flagship. Just a functional craft crewed by humans and aliens alike. His job title was laughably simple. Resonance Liaison. He still carried the battered tuna in his bag. Some things didn't need upgrading. As the ship prepared to jump, a young alien crew member hesitated. Jonah, what if we hear something we don't like? Jonah smiled gently. Then we sit with it. That's how it stops owning us. The ship jumped. Into a galaxy that was no longer quiet. Far away, in regions long marked unreachable, resonance being stirred, not as weapons, not as threats, but as neighbors waiting to be acknowledged. And wherever the noise grew too loud, humans arrived. Not to silence it, but to listen. Because when the galaxy screamed, humanity stepped forward and said, I hear you. And that changed everything.